In a world plagued by conflicts, people are divided, are pitted against each other by right and wrong. We should face others, the other one, and the other one may be visible and may not be, may be invisible, and we die for showing a truth which some people wanted to hide. Just as the facts of this legal case. Fraud. Making identity invisible. The June 29th in the year 2015 was not a normal day by any means. It was the day on which the public prosecutor Councillor Sham Barakat was targeted as his cavalcade drove from home at Heliopolis to his Supreme Court office. By that day, June the 29th, when Jean Barakat was killed, Daesh had already made a call to target senior officials of the country. Daesh, we hear, Daesh voices are heard here giving orders to kill senior officials. Actually, that day fell, it so happened to fall on one Ramadan day, the fasting month, where all the spirits are high because people were fasting. But actually, Daesh wanted to mar the spiritual climate of the month by giving orders to kill Councillor Sham Barakat, the public prosecutor.
التنظيمات الدينية بطبعها تنظيمات عنيفة.
Religious clandestine organizations are by the very nature are known to be violent.
فلذلك يستحيل ما عندوش أي مشكلة. ما عندوش حتى تأنيب الضمير.
They don't, such clandestine religious radical organizations do not feel any prick of conscience for killing any person.
يتم تعيين في ظل مواطن عربي ومصري مأزوم.
An Arab or Egyptian citizen feeling at a loss because of the economic dilemma, he is told by religious radical organizations that capitalism hasn't offered you any solution, or any other school of thought or cult hasn't offered you any solution, and the solution lies within radical religion. They wanted to here in Egypt, we have had an experience which we have all experienced, which have all undergone, when the political landscape revealed its internal and its internal workings. Where however,
عبر صفحتها على موقع التواصل الاجتماعي.
Well, a big surprise was revealed by a so-called clandestine sub-organization called the popular movement for liberation, which claimed the attack.
العدوية والنهضة.
هم لديهم سجل حافل بالأعمال الإرهابية.
They have a record of terrorist organizations.
كلهم
They
هي خارجة عن العباءة الكبرى.
all these clandestine organizations have all come out of the cloak of the radical extremist Muslim Brotherhood organization, and they want to avenge themselves on the dispersal of Al-Raba al-Adawiyya and Al-Nahda sit-ins. All followers of Hassan al-Banna, the founder of these outlawed terrorist organizations, are all known to be believers in violence. Actually clandestine organization attached to the radical terrorist organization of the Muslim Brotherhood has developed itself when they thought that they should have a military organization, sub-organization attached to the main one. Will be responsible for killings on targeting people.
هذا الاعتصام الإرهابي المسلح كان هناك قرار بمواجهة المجتمع المصري بكل مكوناته.
Actually, they had declared sit-ins at Raba al-Adawiyya Square, at Al-Nahda Square, at Giza. This armed sit-in wanted to target the very existence of the Egyptian state. Muhammad Kamal, one of the figures, was killed during the dispersal of the sit-in. They targeted all important facilities of the country. They wanted to knock down all facilities of the country. They haven't given up or relinquished violence. And the sit-ins at Raba al-Adawiyya and the Nahda squares demonstrated this fact.
كل هذه التنظيمات مثلا المسلحة اللي ظهرت.
All these armed organizations which have emerged after 2013 had not been there before 2013. Violence in Sinai has been plagued by violence. So it's the Muslim Brotherhood, the terrorist organization Muslim Brotherhood should be blamed for the violence marring northern Sinai. Terrorist Muslim Brotherhood should be blamed for the violence sweeping northern Sinai. In 2016, the Ministry of the Interior announced that it had already rounded up all culprits, all perpetrators responsible for the killing of Hisham Barakat, the public prosecutor. And they all seem, and they have all been traced to the terrorist Muslim Brotherhood organization. An approach of violence has always been taken by this organization, by this terrorist organization of the Muslim Brotherhood. Terrorist Muslim Brotherhood organization have always focused on distorting the image of three important institutions of the country: the army, the police, and as well as the judiciary. They have kept posting false news at their own sites on these three important facilities.
طبعا استهدفوه.
judge identified as Judge Al-Khazindar by his surname used to pass judgment, used to hear a legal case as early as the as early as the 20th century. They also targeted him.
من بينهم 51 مسجونا و16 هاربا إلى محكمة الجنايات.
Well, 51 perpetrators were referred to the criminal court on charges of plotting and conspiring to kill the public prosecutor, together with some people who were then fugitives. And upon being interrogated, they have all confessed to having plotted, to having conspired together with people inside the country and some other people outside the country, including Yahya Musa, one of the fugitive masterminds outside the country. And they have formed training groups to train them in carrying out such subversive activities, including training camps organized for them with Hamas group. When they wanted to kill Councillor Hisham Barakat, this bed found them at risk. Actually, the terrorist Muslim Brotherhood organization had to solicit the assistance of some Daesh cells within Sinai or somewhere else, together with other organizations, because they felt what they wanted when they conspired to kill Councillor Hisham Barakat. They felt that their own resources, their own capabilities fell sharply short of doing this action all alone by themselves. And unfortunately, they have managed to reach out to Councillor Hisham Barakat to commit such full-fledged crime. They have been charged of deliberately murdering Councillor Hisham Barakat, possessing firearms, as well as joining an illegal radical organization outside the country. Fraud. Leading justice astray. Leading justice astray.
مبكرا
آلية
جماعة الإخوان خطورة ذلك الاعتراف كدليل يعد الأول في ترتيب أدلة الإثبات الجنائية، فكان لزاما عليها التحرك من أجل إخفاء تلك الحقيقة لتشهد قاعدة قيام المتهمين بكافة التهم.
Confession, since confession is regarded by law as the most evidence against them. So perpetrators claim before court that they have been exposed to torture and that they have made such a confession have been made under duress. Confession in law, confession is one of the prosecutor's evidences, and this legal case in particular has a lot of prosecutor's evidences. It has to do with material facts, like bank, such as bonds, firearms, even bank accounts used by perpetrators to receive money transferred to them from outside the country. more than 100 evidences have been collected by investigators.
في المعاينة المسجلة صوت وصورة.
The crime has been acted up by the investigators. The perpetrators were brought to act up the crime before the investigators reconstruct or act up the crime. Here, one of the perpetrators is ordered to act up or reconstruct the way he committed his own crime. He's telling the investigators how he did manage, together with his collaborators, to do the crime.
لطمأنة الأعضاء والضحك وأعضائهم اللي ورطوهم في جرائم وعائلاتهم إنهم مظلومين.
Of course, they have been claiming throughout the legal case that they have been forced to make these confessions under duress in order to convince their own relatives that they are innocent. Most of the time, any defendant within a legal case keeps ferreting, keeps searching for a way out. So all perpetrators have claimed that they have been tortured by investigators. Since the killing of Judge Al-Khazandar, who used to hear legal cases as early as the 20th century on such a clandestine organization, and the killing of the former Prime Minister of Egypt, Al-Nukrashi Pasha, such clandestine organizations have taken the approach of violence. They have been instructed by the former leader Hassan al-Banna to disclaim any connection with violence when they are arrested. We'd find them saying we haven't taken the path or an approach of violence. They have sometimes even made excesses by accusing the state itself of having framed up such accusations against them. All these claims made by them seem to be illogical, seem to be absolutely illogical. The opposition acting against the opposition, even if it's not a religious opposition, sometimes started to believe the claims, the false claims made the terrorist Muslim Brotherhood organization. 7 forensic medicine reports have evidenced it beyond any doubt, beyond any skepticism, that none of them has been tortured. None of the 9 perpetrators in connection with the murder of Councillor Hisham Barakat, none of them has asked the High Council for Human Rights to prove that they have been tortured. Even the testimony before court made by one such perpetrators, when he claimed that he has been tortured, none of these claimed torture, none of these cases of torture has been demonstrated, has been proved. Otherwise, the court would have handed out an acquittal sentence. But all the time, they have been trying the best to jettison the burden of confession, of confessing to having murdered Councillor Hisham Barakat, the former public prosecutor. Musa, one of the perpetrators, confessing that he has received instructions from someone called Musa to do the action, to do the crime, to commit the crime.
احنا اتضربنا و98%
they mostly claim that they have been tortured by using electric rods or by beating.
هنعرض على الطب الشرعي.
Most of the time, these claims they are prodded by the own defense counsels to claim this torture, to claim having been tortured by electricity or by beating before court, as prodded by the own lawyers.
النيابة أولا عمرها ما تعذب أثناء التحقيق. يعني النيابة بتعتبر جهة دفاع عن المتهم.
They have even claimed that the public prosecutor's office itself have ordered them to be tortured or tortured them as investigation. This is not correct, because the public prosecutor's office never, members of the public prosecutor's office have never ever tortured anyone. They take the same, all public prosecutors staff take the same approach when investigating or interrogating someone.
لم يوقف سيل الادعاءات المغرضة بتلفيق التهم
However,
والتي قامت
this truth has never stopped, has never stemmed an avalanche or torrent of claims, of false claims made by the mouthpieces of the terrorist Brotherhood organization.
خلال السوشيال ميديا هم بيعملوا ايه؟ هم بيحاولوا يشككوا
What the terrorist Brotherhood organization have been doing through social sites is that they have been trying to cast doubts on the testimonies made by the perpetrators before court, by distorting truth, that all they're trying to persuade the public opinion that all these claims have been framed up for them.
وياخدوا احداث حقيقيه يتم تزويرها او تحريفها او اجتزائها، يعني حتى ممكن ياخدوا فيديو حقيقي ويجتزئوا منه اجزاء ويبتدوا يعرضوها.
They even very professionally take some video footage out of its context. When they made some extracts of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah's speech, or some video footage of a train accident. They take such footage or such excerpts or quotations and take them out of context. They are strong in terms of the media. They have been getting experience from outside the country in order to influence, in order to exercise influence on a very large swath of the public opinion. They constitute a world organization, because the media, they have been trying the best in order to use the clout of the media, because it's the media which is capable of distorting facts. But however, with all this expenditure they make, the terrorist Brotherhood organization has so far failed to prove anything they claim, because all terrorist Brotherhood organizations, all leaders of the terrorist Brotherhood organization have always been known as to be the pioneers, to be the leaders of violence, distorting facts, distorting the truth, obscuring truth.
الاختفاء القسري في مصر حقيقة مؤكدة.
الاختفاء القسري الجريمة
في حالات اختفاء قسري في مصر.
قضايا الاختفاء القسري.
Forced disappearances have been another ploy or game played by terrorist Brotherhood organizations together with their mouthpieces, even after the conviction, after the condemnation of some of its leaders.
بشكل كبير وتم استخدام المنصات الإعلامية من أجل
The media, all media outlets have been used. All media outlets have been used
يتم اختطافهم من الشارع ومن الطرق.
by media outlets to claim that some of the elements are being kidnapped or snatched from streets, from roads, and made to disappear.
كانت أكثر شفافية
Despite the fact all government agencies have opened the door and said, well, we welcome any investigation into any purported or claimed forced disappearance.
احيانا بيعتمدوا على بعض الحوادث الحقيقيه ولكن
They sometimes count on some factual precedents or on facts.
واحيانا بيكون مثلا الشخص دخل الجهاز الشرطي كان في اجازات لم يتم تسجيله الا لاحقا او راح النيابه.
Well, sometimes some of the people claiming to be forced to disappear, as it turned out later to be that they have gone into any police agency or police facility and was not registered as having been detained by the police until a later time. When we approached the Ministry of the Interior on the matter, we found out that 220 such cases of purported, claimed forced disappearances have already been arrested by the Ministry of the Interior and being interrogated by the Ministry of the Interior. And in terms of some other cases, the Ministry of the Interior said they haven't been arrested at all and they may have gone outside the country. And searching deeper and deeper, we'll find out that some of those people purportedly tortured and arrested by the Ministry of the Interior were later on found out to have fled the country in order to join some clandestine organizations. Omar Adib has been a very famous model of such purported forced disappearances. Terrorist organization Brotherhood claimed that Omar Adib was kidnapped by the authorities, but later on it turned out that the purpose for which he has been to Egypt, it was claimed that he was studying Egypt, but actually he came to the region to join clandestine organization rather than studying.
هذا الشخص منخرط في تنفيذ عملية إرهابية.
This person has been engaged in fighting against the state in a terrorist organization, and he was ordered to come to Egypt for a month, to spend a month in Egypt to carry out subversive terrorist activities against the country, against Egypt. They even claimed that a lady by the name of Zubayda was purportedly said to be forced to disappear, but later on it was found to be arrested legally. My daughter has been arrested, so I must have spoken against this. I couldn't have stopped talking about this.
عارفه ان والدتك بتقول ان انت بقالك سنه مختفيه مش موجوده مخطوفه.
You know that your mother is claiming that you have been kidnapped for a month. I've got married. I haven't been kidnapped. I haven't been kidnapped. I have got married. I have got married. I've been staying with my father. So the interviewer is asking her, haven't you ever tried to give her a phone call telling her that you are safe?
غير حقيقية في أغلب الأحيان للمنظمات الدولية باستخدامها للضغط على
They pass on false information to international organization to be used by clandestine organization against the government.
ورفعنا أمر كل من ظهر منه الوقوع في الشرك إلى المحكمة الشرعية.
This person here seems to be a member of the terrorist radical Daesh group in northern Sinai. He's claiming what he claims to be, he's claiming that they have demolished or destroyed any manifestation of polytheism, as he so claims. There has been a systematic campaign in order to distort, to blemish the image of Egyptian security authorities. However, Al-Dul'i, who was purportedly kidnapped by the Egyptian authorities, appeared later on in video footage by such a clandestine organization and seems to be and this video footage, it turned out to be that he has been a member of such a clandestine organization. More than 300 worshippers have been killed in the northern Sinai mosque. However, such a clandestine organization led by terrorist Brotherhood organization have been claiming that it's the Egyptian authorities or someone who have killed those 300 innocent Egyptians. Brainstorming people. Storming the brains of innocent people and trying to persuade them of things. The court panel with consensus has decided to refer the legal case of a public prosecutor into the Grand Mufti of Egypt. That's to say, a verdict on capital punishment is to be passed by the court. And later on, a death sentence has been passed and been handed down by the court against the 9 perpetrators who were accused of killing a public prosecutor, while others also involved in the legal case have been sentenced to diverse prison terms. Exhibits as well as blueprints have all been examined by the court throughout a year. And by the year 2018, the Court of Cassation, the highest court, has upheld an earlier court of capital punishment passed on the 9 perpetrators. There have been scores of evidences, of pieces of evidence. Actually, those people arrested have confessed to have been assigned roles, designated roles by the mastermind of the crime. Everyone has been designated or assigned a role to play.
التنظيم. هناك عدد كبير من الاعترافات التي أكدت
There have been a number, a great number, plenty of confessions as having been
المحكمة مش
made.
مصلحتها انها تحكم على واحد بريء. المحكمة تبحث عن المتهم الجاني.
The court has to search for has to deter those who are found out to be guilty, rather than passing or handing down a sentence or judgment on an innocent person.
في قضية اغتيال النائب العام بتنفيذ حكم الإعدام بحق المتهمين التسعة.
The 9 perpetrators were sentenced to capital punishment, were condemned to death.
أرادوها البداية لفصل جديد من فصول المؤامرة.
However, the mouthpieces of terrorist Brotherhood organization have since the sentence was passed by the court in 2018, were actually launching a campaign day and night against the government, against the Egyptian judiciary, that the legal case has been based on no solid evidence against them, let alone to have passed death sentence against them. And they have flared up all social media sites with false information, claiming that even the daughter of late public prosecutor Hisham Barakat, claiming that his daughter has posted an announcement on her social media site that her father was not killed by those 9 people, but later on his daughter made things clearer by asserting that her own social media site has been hacked.
عايزه اقول لكم واطمنكم الجهات المعنيه حاليا في ملاحقه لمرتكب الواقعه يتم محاسبتهم امام جهات التحقيق.
Now, I'd like to assure everyone that the perpetrators have been pursued by all investigating authorities.
الشخصيه اللي هم نشروها عن صفحتي ملهاش اي علاقه تماما بيا.
اللي صنع الكتائب الالكترونيه في مصر.
She is asserting that the social media site has been hacked by hackers.
ولا ان هو يبتز الشخص، هو هدفه انه يقول انا اقوى من
They haven't what the terrorist Brotherhood organization has been claiming is not only intended to extort or blackmail the government, but to tell the government we are more powerful than the government, we are more powerful, we are stronger than the state itself, not only blackmailing or extorting the government. Claiming to be oppressed. There have been persisting claims and attempts that they have been oppressed. But however, all the claims have been fired back, and a capital punishment has been handed down on the 9 perpetrators.
أجراها مع بعض القنوات الإخوانية قارئا وصية ابنه التي كتبها بخط يده.
One of the father of one of those handed down the death sentence was interviewed by such radical terrorist channels supporting terrorist Brotherhood organization, claiming that he's reading the will of his killed son or his executed son.
يبقى في ذهنكم إني مت ولكني عند ربي حي أرزق.
He's claiming that his son left him a will in which he's saying that by the time you read my will, and have been executed by court, and have been executed by the government. But however, I'm not dead by being executed. I'll be still living within or in the hereafter, in heaven.
التي عرفت إعلاميا باسم خلية عرب شركس أثناء تواجده بين العناصر الإرهابية في سوريا.
Another cell, another clandestine terrorist cell known as Arab Sharkas was later on uncovered by the police, was cracked by the police, and all members of this cell were referred to court, and most of them have been executed by hanging as well. This cell had been cracked even before the killing of the public prosecutor.
مستنكرة رغم ذلك أن تصل عقوبته إلى الإعدام.
وحضرتك في المحضر قال إن هو دوره كان
in the police report he confessed to having guided his followers to the whereabouts of the house of the public prosecutor.
أحد الأهالي
One of the
القنوات التابعة للأخوان بيقول بالنص كده أنا ابني كان دوره بس إنه بيراقب البيت، إزاي ياخد إعدام؟
One of the family members of those perpetrators condemned to death by course confessed to saying that my son's role, quote, my son's role was only to monitor or to monitor or follow up the whereabouts of the public prosecutor. So how come he's condemned to death? Unquote.
وكالعادة أبت جماعة الإخوان إلا أن تواصل.
However, the terrorist Brotherhood organization persisted in making these false accusations against the government. In doing so, they have deliberately tried to forget what the heinous crimes have left to innocent people who lost their loved ones because of their approach of violence.
شحن البطاريات المظلومية كي تكون وقود لإنتاج مزيد من الكراهية ومزيد.
All the time, terrorist Brotherhood organizations have been charging the so-called batteries of oppression. That's to say, they have been claiming all the time that they have been oppressed, suppressed, and coerced by the government. And even the families have pursued the same approach of claiming to have been oppressed by police agencies, by court, by the entire government, into making untrue confessions. And all these attempts have been intended to show the world that they have been victims, that they have been innocent victims of so-called torture or oppression by investigators or by interrogators. They have all the time reproduced and rejigged, rehashed the idea of being oppressed, of being done injustice, because that we have seen armed people at the two twin sit-ins of Rabaa al-Adawiyya and Al-Nahda. They have been carrying arms, they have raised arms against the government and against the state, and we have seen this on all the screen, live screen or television live screens. Such sit-ins were flashpoints, hotbeds of violence They started, they were they signaled the start of such violence, and they ended up with the killing of Councillor Hisham Barakat, the public prosecutor.
بضلوعهم بأدوار داعميها داخل عملية الاغتيال رغم اعتراف أسرهم كي يشكلوا أنهم مجموعة من الضحايا رغم ثبوت الجريمة.
They have confessed, they have been trying to show themselves to the public opinion as only a group of innocent. They have persistently called to question the consciousness of judges. However, magic has turned against the magician, the wizard. Magic has turned against a magician. Instead of working into the hands, magic has turned against them. Fraud. This is the name of the film, the documentary.